I don't know how to explain it in a way that makes sense. Hell, I don't even know if I want to explain it, but I need to because I can't be the only one this has happened to. It started with a phone call. I work nights, so being awake at 3 a.m. isn't weird for me. It's normal. That's my world. Late shifts, dark roads, and empty apartments. That night wasn't any different. I was lying in bed, half scrolling through my phone, not really paying attention to anything, just letting my brain slow down before I finally knocked out. My apartment was quiet, except for the hum of my fan. Everything felt still. Then my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen, barely interested until I saw the number. It was mine, my full number, area code, and everything. Have you ever gotten that sudden instinctive feeling when something is wrong, like your body knows before your brain catches up? That's what I felt. It was like my stomach dropped, but I didn't know why yet. I stared at the screen for a second, just watching it vibrate in my hand. The logical part of my brain kicked in. Okay, it's probably a spoof call, some scammer, maybe even a glitch. The ringing went on, and something about it made my skin crawl. It wasn't just a call, it was like something was waiting. I hesitated, then, against my better judgment, I swiped to answer. I didn't say anything at first, just held the phone to my ear, listening. Silence, not even static, just dead, empty air. Hello? Nothing. But right as I pulled the phone away to check if the call had dropped, I heard it. A breath. It was wet, ragged, like someone struggling to inhale through crushed lungs. The kind of breath you hear when someone's trying to hold in a sob, but it's too broken to hide. I froze, my pulse jumped, a sharp electric shock of panic shooting through my veins. I didn't speak. I don't even think I was breathing. Then, in the smallest, most fragile whisper, I heard my own voice say, "Don't answer the door." Then a sound of a click. The line went dead. I sat there, staring at my phone, heart hammering so loud I could hear it in my ears. That wasn't me. I mean, it sounded like me, but the way it spoke, the words were shaking, drenched in something that wasn't fear but worse. Like whoever said it already knew how this ended. I swallowed hard. My mouth was dry. My throat felt tight. I wanted to laugh, to brush it off. Scammers can fake voices, right? AI? Maybe a prank? But I couldn't shake it, because who the hell would tell me not to open my own door? I sat there, gripping my phone, staring at the black screen like it might light up again with more answers. It didn't. Then, a knock at the door. A sharp, deliberate, single knock. I jumped so hard my knee slammed against my desk. My phone nearly slipped from my grip. My brain immediately started throwing out every explanation it could. Maybe it's a neighbor, a package, a mistake. But at 3 a.m., my stomach twisted. No one knocks at 3 a.m. I turned toward the door, suddenly hyper-aware of how quiet my apartment had become. The fan was still spinning, but the sound felt far away, muted. For the first time, I realized how thin my apartment walls were, how close the door was. I thought about the voice, my voice. "Don't answer the door." I stood up, moving slowly, like any sound I made would draw attention. From what? I wasn't sure yet. Then I thought about the peephole on my front door. I took a step forward, but before I could reach the door, my phone buzzed. I flinched, nearly dropping it. I looked down and my stomach plummeted. There was an incoming call, my number, again. My hands went numb. I stared at the screen, at my own name, my own contact photo. It was the same, exactly the same. Except for one thing, the battery percentage. Before I picked up, my phone was at 64%, but on the incoming call screen, it showed 32%. Like the call was happening in a place that was draining it. Like the version of my phone calling me was halfway gone. I almost threw the damn thing across the room. My thumb hovered over the decline button. But then the knock came again, louder this time, insistent. My skin prickled. I looked back at the door. Something in me knew. If I checked the peephole, I would regret it. The phone vibrated in my hand, the buzzing drilling into my skull. I couldn't take it. I answered. I pressed the phone to my ear. My breath hitched. My heart was in my throat. The call connected. At first, just silence. Again, no breathing this time, no sound at all. And then the door unlocked. I heard it. That soft, mechanical click. My stomach clenched so hard I thought I was going to throw up. I spun around, staring at the door in pure frozen terror. I didn't touch it, I didn't move, but the lock had turned. I wasn't alone. Then, through the phone, I heard something, a whisper, so close it was like lips were pressed right against the speaker. It was my voice. But this time, it didn't sound afraid. It said, "You shouldn't have answered." Then, the call cut out, and right as it did, the door handle started to turn. I don't remember moving. One second, I was standing there staring at the door, watching the handle turn. The next, I was in my bathroom, the door locked behind me. I don't even remember running. My body just acted on its own. I pressed my back against the bathroom door, my chest rising and falling so fast it hurt. The air in the apartment had changed. The second that lock clicked open, something felt different. I wasn't alone anymore. My phone was still clenched in my hand, the screen casting a dim glow in the cramped space. I turned it on. No missed calls. No record of the two I had answered. It was like my phone was pretending none of it happened. I felt a sting on my palm. I had been gripping the phone so tightly, the corner of it had pressed into my skin, leaving a red mark. I loosened my grip, shaking out my hands, trying to slow my breathing. Then I made a mistake. I looked up. The bathroom mirror was right in front of me. At first, I didn't register anything unusual, just my own reflection. But as I stared, my skin prickling, I noticed something was off. My reflection wasn't shaking. I was. My shoulders were trembling, my hands twitching from leftover adrenaline. But the me in the mirror? Still. Perfectly still. I swallowed. The air in the bathroom was heavy, pressing in on me. I lifted my hand, just a little, like I was testing something. My reflection followed, but it was a fraction of a second late, a hesitation that shouldn't have been there. I jerked my hand back. The reflection copied me exactly, but now I was watching. My mind was locked in, hyper-focused, scanning every inch of the glass. I raised my other hand, slow, careful. It followed, but again, just a little too late. I felt my stomach twist. I blinked. It didn't. I froze. My brain short-circuited. That's the only way I can explain it. Because when I blinked again, it did too. Like it had caught up, like it had noticed me noticing. I wanted to move. I wanted to turn, to run, to get the hell out of that bathroom, but I couldn't. I was locked in place, staring at my own face, my own body, standing just inches away from something that looked like me, but wasn't. Then it smiled. Not fast, not exaggerated, slow, controlled. The corners of its mouth lifted just a little too high. The kind of smile people put on when they're pretending. And then it started whispering. Its lips moved soundlessly like it was saying something just for me, something I wasn't meant to hear. I didn't even realize I was stepping backward until my shoulder hit the bathroom door. My fingers fumbled for the doorknob, slipping over it, my breath catching in my throat. The reflection, my reflection, kept moving its lips. The smile widened, teeth showing. Then it stopped, mouth still open, eyes locked on mine. The light in the bathroom flickered, just once, just long enough for my brain to register something behind me in the mirror. I turned, nothing. But when I snapped my eyes back to the mirror, my reflection was closer. I wasn't standing that close, I knew I wasn't, but now its face nearly touched the glass, eyes locked onto mine like it had been waiting for me to look away. The light flickered again, and when it did, I swear to God, I felt a breath on my neck. I jumped back towards the door. I twisted the doorknob so hard I nearly yanked it off, stumbling backward into the hallway, slamming the door behind me. I ran, straight from my bedroom, straight from my bed, like a damn kid hiding from a nightmare. I don't know why my brain thought that was safe. I crawled under the covers, shaking, phone clutched in my hands. I wanted to call someone, anyone. But who do you call when you're being hunted by your own reflection? The air felt wrong, thick, heavy. I pulled the blanket over my head, gripping my phone like a lifeline. I stared at the screen like I was waiting for it to ring, and then I heard my bedroom door open, a soft creak, like something careful, something deliberate. I held my breath. My heart pounded so hard I thought I was going to throw up. The floorboards creaked. One step, then another, right up to my bed. I squeezed my eyes shut. I thought if I didn't move, if I didn't breathe, maybe whatever was standing there wouldn't know I was awake. Then I felt it. The blanket shifted, not much, just a small tug like something had barely brushed against it. I bit down on my lips so hard I tasted blood, and my phone vibrated in my hand. I didn't want to look. But I did. The incoming call showed it was my phone number. I clenched my jaw, pressing the screen against my chest. The vibration rattled through me. I didn't move. I couldn't. Then, the whisper, right next to my ear. Not through the phone, not in my head, right next to me, my own voice. Let me in. I threw the blanket off and screamed. The room was empty. My bedroom door was still locked. I gasped for air, my whole body trembling. My phone buzzed again, this time a text from my number. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't stop myself. My hand shook as I turned to look at the screen. The text said, "Don't hide, I see you." The bathroom door creaked open. I took a look at the mirror. I knew without looking that my reflection wasn't in there anymore. And that meant it was somewhere else, somewhere in the apartment, waiting. I didn't sleep. I couldn't, not after that. I sat in my bed, back pressed against the headboard, phone clutched in my hand like it was the only thing keeping me tethered to reality. Every shadow in my room felt like it was watching me. Every creak of the floor made my muscles tense. My own damn apartment didn't feel like mine anymore. At some point, the sun started to rise. It didn't feel real. It was like I had skipped time, like I had stepped into some version of my life where I wasn't supposed to exist anymore. The bathroom door was still open. The mirror was still empty. I should have left. I should have packed a bag, walked out, never looked back. But I didn't. I told myself it was just exhaustion, just paranoia. Maybe I had been half asleep when I thought I saw those things. Maybe stress was making me hear things. I told myself anything I could just to keep from losing my mind. By the time night fell again, I had almost convinced myself I was okay. I stayed in the living room, lights on, TV playing something loud and brainless. Then, at exactly 3 a.m., my phone rang. My chest tightened. I didn't need to look at the screen. I knew. I forced myself to check anyway. It was my number. I stopped breathing. No, not again. I couldn't do this again. The phone kept ringing. The sound was sharp, invasive, wrong. It cut through the noise from the TV, making the air feel heavier, pressing down on me like a warning. I don't know why I answered. I wish I hadn't. The moment I put the phone to my ear, I heard something I will never forget. Crying. Not loud, not wailing, just broken. A soft, wet, choked sobbing. Like someone was trying to cry but couldn't get the air in. Like their throat was filled with something thick, drowning them from the inside out. Then a voice. My voice. It's inside. The words came in gasps, like they were being forced out between sobs. It knows you saw it. Don't turn around. Then a click. The call ended. I sat there, phone still pressed to my ear, my whole body rigid. Now, I couldn't think about anything else. I felt it. Not air, not movement, just a presence, heavy, close, like someone standing behind me, leaning in, waiting. The TV was still on, but the sound felt far away. The light in the room wasn't as bright anymore. Or maybe it was, but something else was dulling it. My fingers tightened around my phone. My whole body was screaming at me to run, to move, to do anything except sit there and wait for it to touch me. But I couldn't. Not yet. Slowly, I shifted my eyes, just enough to see the edge of the living room window, enough to catch a glimpse of the dark glass. I shouldn't have looked, because in the reflection I saw it. It wasn't standing, it was crouched behind me, its head inches from mine, face angled like it was studying me. It had my shape, my body, but not my face. Its mouth stretched too wide, jaw hanging like it was unhinged, black, wet teeth glistened in the dim light. Its eyes, they were gone, just dark, caved-in pits. I clenched my jaw, locking my muscles, fighting every instinct screaming at me to run. If I moved, if I acknowledged it, I knew it would do something worse. Then, in the reflection, it lifted a hand. Not to grab me, not to hurt me, it waved. I ran. I didn't think, didn't hesitate. I launched myself off the couch, sprinting toward my bedroom. Behind me, the TV flickered, the light shattered. I felt something move, fast. A rush of air, a sound that wasn't quite a growl, but something deeper, more human. I made it to my room. I didn't even bother with the lock. I shoved my dresser in front of the door and collapsed against it, my hands shaking so violently I could barely hold onto my phone. I was trapped, but so was it, the thing that wore my face. And I had no idea which one of us was going to make it out first. I don't know how long I sat there, my back pressed against the dresser, my whole body tight as if I relaxed even for a second, I'd stop breathing. My phone was still in my hand and the screen cracked now, maybe from when I dropped it during the sprint, but it was dead. Completely, no light, no battery symbol, just black. And I know I charged it earlier. I couldn't hear anything on the other side of the door, no movement, no footsteps, not even breathing. That should have made me feel better. It didn't. Because I wasn't afraid of the noise anymore. I was afraid of the quiet. Eventually, I started to convince myself that maybe it was over. Maybe I had outrun whatever that thing was. Maybe it couldn't get through the door. Maybe mirrors work both ways. If it could watch me, maybe it could be trapped too. That's what I wanted to believe. Then came the knock. Not loud, not banging, just one slow, single knock. Like it wasn't trying to scare me, like it was letting me know it was still there. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. I felt like my body was locked in place, my hands going numb from gripping the edges of the dresser so tightly. Then came another knock. This one was softer, closer, not at the front door. It came from inside the apartment, somewhere down the hall. What I thought was silence wasn't silence. It was waiting. Whatever this thing was, it hadn't left. It was moving around quietly, listening, figuring me out. And now it wanted me to know it wasn't in a rush. I stayed there, frozen, heart pounding so hard it hurt. Then I heard something that made me feel sick, a voice, muffled through the door, but close. It was my voice. "Hey, it's me. You can open the door now." Calm, flat, like someone reading off a script. I didn't answer. The voice came again, a little louder. The voice said, "I'm sorry I scared you. I was confused. I didn't know what was happening." I stared at the bottom of the door, waiting to see feet. A shadow. Something. The voice said again, "I just want to talk, please." There was no emotion behind it. None. It wasn't trying to comfort me. It was mimicking comfort, repeating phrases it thought I'd respond to. Like it had heard them used before and was trying them on for size. I leaned in, just slightly, trying to listen. That's when I saw it. A finger, long, thin, sliding slowly under the door. Just one finger, scraping softly against the floor. Then the whole hand, pale and stretched like the skin had been pulled over bones that didn't fit. I scrambled backward, slamming my shoulder into the wall. The hand retracted, quietly, no sound. All of a sudden, I heard a sound. 3 slow taps, right on the wood. And then my phone lit up. No sound, just the screen glowing in my lap. There was a new message from my number. I opened it. It was a photo of me standing outside my bedroom door. I stared at that photo for a long time. Me standing outside my own door, or whatever that thing was. The hallway light was behind it, washing out the face, but I could still see the outline of its body, the posture. The way the head tilted slightly too far, like the neck wasn't built right. It was smiling, and it was holding my phone, the same one I was holding in my hands. I should have thrown it. I should have opened a window and tossed the whole thing outside. But I didn't. I couldn't. I just sat there, still on the floor, still behind the dresser, barely breathing. My heart wasn't even racing anymore. It was like my body had finally decided, this is happening and you're not getting out. The lights flickered once, then again. And this time, they didn't come back on. The whole apartment went dark, pitch black. The kind of dark that makes you doubt your own hands are still attached to your arms. I held onto the phone, the only light now coming from the screen. The photo was still open. And that's when the phone started ringing. No vibration, no ringtone, just the screen lighting up, incoming call from my number. Again. But this time, there was no decline option, just one button, accept. I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to know what would happen if I did, but I also knew it didn't matter. I didn't have a choice. I tapped the screen, the call connected, and I heard my own voice say, "You shouldn't have run." Then a pause. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. It spoke again and said, "You let me in when you answered." My throat went dry. I pressed the phone harder against my ear, like that would somehow stop it from reaching me. "I'm already inside," the voice said. The voice wasn't even trying to sound like me anymore. It was stretching, distorting, glitches in the pitch, like something was practicing the shape of human words, but didn't quite know how to hold them. Then whispering, dozens of voices layered beneath mine. I pulled the phone away, but the whispering didn't stop. It was coming from behind me. I turned slowly. The dresser was still there. The door hadn't opened. But the mirror was glowing. Not reflecting light, glowing. Like it was lit from the inside, and something was moving in it. It was not my reflection. That thing was long gone. This was something else. I watched, paralyzed, as the shape started crawling out of the frame. No sound, no footsteps, just the sound of flesh peeling away from glass. It was wearing my face, but it looked wrong. The features were sagging, the skin bubbled, twitching like it was struggling to hold a shape it didn't belong in. Its mouth hung open, stretched past where a jaw should end, and from deep inside it, I could hear a sound like metal scraping against bone. The phone slipped from my hand. I couldn't speak. I couldn't scream. It reached a hand toward me, not to grab me, to touch my face. And that's when I heard it, from the phone, still on the ground. A whisper. "You're not going to leave." And then it smiled. My smile, just as everything went black. I don't remember blacking out. I remember the sound, that scraping, like nails dragging across bone. I remember its hand getting close enough that I felt the air around it change, like it was pulling the warmth out of the room just by existing. When I came to, it was quiet. No whispering, no flickering lights, no mirror glow, just silence. I was still on the floor, the dresser still shoved up against the door. My phone was lying screen down next to me. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to breathe too loud. I knew it was still there, not in the mirror anymore, not crouching in the corner, not floating outside the window. It was in me. I stood up slowly. Every muscle ached like I'd been fighting something in my sleep. The room looked the same, but wrong. The walls felt too close. The shadows weren't where they were supposed to be. My phone buzzed once. I flinched. It lit up with a single notification, just one word. Thanks. No number, no sender, just that word. I stared at it until the screen faded to black again. I didn't sleep. I didn't leave the room. I waited for something else to happen, something obvious, an attack, another voice, another knock, but that never came. Instead, little things started changing. My voice, it doesn't sound like mine anymore. People wouldn't notice if I didn't point it out, but I hear it. There's something under it now. like a second voice, just barely out of sync with the words I'm saying. Sometimes when I talk, I hear a whisper trail off a second too late. I don't dream anymore, I only see mirrors. Every night, mirrors I don't recognize, rooms I've never been in. Sometimes I see myself just standing there smiling. Sometimes I see myself tearing at my own face, pulling the skin down like it's a mask that doesn't fit. The other night, I looked in the mirror in my hallway and blinked. Normal, whatever. But my reflection, it didn't blink. It didn't move. It just smiled. Then it raised its hand and waved. I didn't. That's when I knew it never left. It didn't crawl out to hurt me. That was never the point. It wanted in. And when I picked up that first call, when I heard myself whisper not to open the door, that was it. That wasn't a warning. That was bait. It needed me to be scared. It needed me to invite it in without realizing it. Now I walk around feeling like I'm sharing this body, like I'm not the only one behind the wheel anymore. I'll catch myself staring at people too long, strangers, friends, even my sister, just watching them like I'm studying them. And then I blink and I don't remember doing it. Sometimes I'll say something and people will pause and ask me to repeat it, but I don't remember speaking at all. Last night, I woke up standing in front of the mirror, no phone, no lights on, just me smiling. And when I opened my mouth, it didn't move. But then I heard it clear as day. My voice says, "You're mine now." So if you ever get a call from your own number, don't answer.